Welcome to the NEUPC Firefighting Equipment and Associated Services Framework Webinar. My name is Sam Wells and I'm the Category Manager for Soft Facilities at NEUPC. Today we will be covering the framework overview, including who the framework is available to, the scope of the framework, the lotting structure, the benefits of the framework. We'll then move on to calling off the framework, including some further competition advice. Finally, we'll look at the framework management, including HE contract, the buyer's guide, and the contact details that you'll require. This framework went live on the 24th of February 2020. The initial term is for 2 years, plus there are two 12-month options to extend for any UPC. This framework is available to members of 6 education consortia across the United Kingdom. In the HE sector, it covers NEUPC, NWUPC, LUPC, SUPC and HEPCW. And the framework is also available to members of CPC, whose members tend to be colleges and schools. The framework is split into 2 lots. Lot 1 covers all of the key pieces of equipment needed for universities to protect their campuses from fire, including extinguishers, hoses and blankets, and the scheduled maintenance of those products. In addition to this, the scope includes storage, including cabinets, stands and trolleys, passive fire protection and intumescent products, emergency door furniture, escape equipment such as fire escape ladders, fire signage, and wireless smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. We also included first aid kits in the scope of the framework for members to take advantage of. Lot 2 was designed to cover all training and fire risk assessment requirements. The scope for training included fire safety awareness training to be provided to all members of staff, evacuation chair training and fire warden training. Suppliers on this lot are also able to provide fire risk assessments that comply with PAS 79 requirements. Whilst NEUPC were developing this framework, we worked alongside CPC as they procured a separate fire framework. Further to the scope detailed above, members of NEUPC, NWUPC, LUPC, SUPC, HEPCW also have access to the CPC framework, which covers fire alarms, detections and suppression systems. All details of this framework can be found on HE contracts. This means that members have full access to 2 frameworks covering all of your fire-related requirements. As we said on the previous slide, the framework was divided into 2 lots. In addition to that, we divided each lot into 8 geographical regions to cover the entire of the UK, ensuring a mixture of national and local suppliers were awarded places on the framework. As you can see on the slide, the regions are listed along with the map linking to those regions. There are a number of benefits for members using this agreement. These include a strong market coverage from national and local suppliers, all of whom have had compliance checks against them for health and safety regulations and legislation, as well as price and quality checks at the tender stage. In addition, there are savings on offer for those that use the framework, including 4% BT1 savings on Lot 1 and 10% BT1 savings on Lot 2. These may be increased on further competition should you choose this route to call off from. There are also process savings to record from the use of collaborative agreement. The framework is fully compliant with EU procurement regulations, which will save members time, resource and money. Suppliers have provided service overviews which are included in the buyer's guide. These are included to help buyers make their sourcing decisions. As we have discussed in the previous slide, access is granted to all members to use the CPC Fire Systems Framework. And finally, sustainability was a key part of this tender, which included a 10% weighting assigned for sustainability. We will continue to monitor the supplier's sustainability credentials at contract management stage. The call-off mechanisms for this framework are a direct award using the rankings from the framework tender stage. In Lot 1, in all regions except from Northern Ireland, Firemark are ranked first, and in Lot 2, FCS Live are ranked first in all regions. The desktop calculator is available to use for both lots, with all criteria weightings adjustable by plus or minus 20%. The calculators can be found on HE contracts. Members can also perform a further competition exercise if they would prefer. Advice on further competitions are covered in the following slides. To ensure a successful further competition, you should follow these tips. Understand your requirements by engaging with the relevant teams at your university, such as health and safety, facilities management, or estates. Engage early with suppliers prior to issuing the further competition documents. Invite all capable suppliers to the competition. Allow sufficient time for responses. Be clear on your requirements. Reference the framework on tender documents. In this case, the reference is EFM 2028NE. Understand how the framework pricing works. Agree appropriate KPIs and SLAs with your selected supplier, and provide objective feedback to successful and unsuccessful suppliers. Now, the things you should avoid when performing a further competition are duplicating questions from the framework tender stage, creating a framework within a framework, creating a restricted tender as you further compete, varying the weightings by more than the permitted amount. On this framework, the limit is plus or minus 20% for each criteria, or significantly varying the call-off terms that have already been agreed with suppliers at the framework tender stage. The benefits of procuring through a further competition are that it improves your market understanding and knowledge, allows you to develop service levels and/or refine your specification to meet your organisation's needs, gives the best opportunity for suppliers to demonstrate their capabilities when they submit their bids, and there's potential added value services from suppliers to be included in their bids. For any more information on how to perform a further competition on this framework, you should review the buyer's guide, which is saved on HE contracts. Framework management will be performed by NEUPC and will include individual annual contract management meetings with all suppliers, regular contact with suppliers throughout the year, and we will aim to resolve any issues with the framework raised by suppliers or members. We will also keep the HE contract site for this framework up to date at all times, including the buyer's guide, terms and conditions, contacts for each supplier, pricing and discounts, and the ITT questionnaires and evaluation scores. The buyer's guide is the key document for members to view when calling off from the framework. Within the buyer's guide, there are details on the following, some of which have already been covered in this webinar. The scope of the agreement, which consortia the agreement is available to, call-off guidance, award criteria, contract details, supplier biographies, supplier contact details, any variation to contractual terms with suppliers, and pricing and discounts. Here are the key contacts that you need for the use of this framework. Firstly, there's the Framework Manager, which is myself, Sam Wells, the Category Manager for Soft Facilities, and I've also included the marketing and admin email addresses for if you need those too. Thank you for listening to this Firefighting Equipment and Associated Services Framework webinar brought to you by NEUPC. If you require any further information regarding this framework or the CPC-led Fire Systems Framework, please contact Sam Wells directly. If you have any feedback about this webinar or any other NEUPC webinar, please email it to marketing@neupc.ac.uk.